Well, it feels like an eternity, but Skyrocket is back in action. Just a couple short days after Steel Curtain opened to the public, Skyrocket reopened, which feels like now we just got two new roller coasters. The last time that I rode Skyrocket was in 2017, so it's been some time now. I've been planning on giving a review of Skyrocket since last year, hoping it was going to open already, but now here we are midsummer 2019 and the ride's back open and I'm ready to give you my personal review. Presentation. Skyrocket has no theming whatsoever. The name is actually as basic as it comes because the ride's model name is Skyrocket 1. This attraction is the prototype for Premier Ride's new style of launch coaster. Kennywood hasn't really done much with the ride's presentation, beyond just some foliage here and there throughout the queue. The trains simply have the ride's name printed on the front. The ride sign isn't anything special either. Skyrocket is an amusement park attraction through and through, which isn't a bad thing. We know Kennywood isn't a theme park, but a classic amusement park that has been entertaining guests for over 100 years now. Since this ride is just under 10 years old, the paintwork isn't in too bad shape either, so no complaints there. I really don't have more to say on presentation, and since this is about as basic as it gets, I'm giving Skyrocket a score of 5 for presentation. Ride intensity. Majority of the launching Premier rides, roller coasters that I've ridden have a decent launch. Skyrocket is no different. It has a little kick to it, which makes the launch exciting, but it's not super intense launch like an Intamin accelerator coaster, or obviously not as intense as an S&S launch coaster either. A Premier ride launch is a good, right down in the middle launch, giving you some thrills, but not putting the fear in your eyes like the more intense coasters. After the launch, Skyrocket launches straight into the air, giving riders a short pop of airtime. The top hat has a trim brake at the top, which slows you down, but not enough that those riding in the back will still get some airtime going down the first drop. The cutback element is one of the more intense moments of the ride, delivering some decent positive Gs. The 0G roll delivers some fun floater airtime in laterals, making this my favorite element of the ride. The coaster goes right into a sharp turnaround, sending you into a block break of sorts. I don't think it's an actual block break, but these breaks bring the roller coaster to a crawl. The ride then performs a near vertical drop, which provides some good airtime in the back row, followed by a sharp, fast turn low to the ground that provides some good positive Gs. The corkscrew is another fun inversion as it provides some good hang time. Steel Curtain isn't the only coaster in the park that has some fun hang time. After this corkscrew, the ride's energy comes to a grinding halt as you meander through a series of zigzag S-bend turns and two quote-unquote airtime hills. Actually, since this ride has reopened, I think this coaster is running a little faster as I did get a little pop of air on that second hump, but again, nothing really exciting. The coaster then rolls into the brake run, bringing this coaster experience to an end. Overall, Skyrocket is about average when it comes to intensity. It has a few moments that can be more intense, but overall, this ride seems like a good stepping stone before working your way over to the two big coasters in the park, Phantom's Revenge and Steel Curtain. I'm giving Skyrocket a score of 6 for intensity. Fun factor. Even though this ride isn't overly intense, it still has a lot to love. The launch is fun. The couple moments of airtime on this coaster are actually pretty good. As previously mentioned, the 0G roll on Skyrocket is a pretty fun and quite possibly my favorite moment on this coaster. The corkscrew is also another fun element, but unfortunately the ride feels like it's lost after the corkscrew. The zigzag and airtime hills are quite boring and almost feel pointless. Now, since the ride's reopening, I do think it's running a little faster as the final section of the ride seems to be a little faster, but not by much. Besides the end of the ride, I think everything else makes up for what lacks near the end. Skyrocket uses lap bars for restraints, which is always a plus with a roller coaster that has inversions. Only having a lap bar makes you feel exposed and enhances the hang time moments on the ride. Skyrocket is a solid, fun coaster that makes it easy to re-ride over and over. Skyrocket gets a score of 8 for the fun factor. Originality. This is actually a hard category to rate, since this ride isn't exactly original, but at the same time it manages to mix things up. The cutback element at the time of this coaster's opening was a very original inversion with only 3 other coasters that featured this element before it. The ride has a lot of snappy elements, especially during the first half. The second half, after the corkscrew, is the ride's major flaw. In some ways, I would rather see that section of the ride just cut off and send you flying back into the brake run with a little speed, but at the same time, it's nice to extend out the length of the ride. What's nice about Skyrocket is that it doesn't feel overly short like other launching coasters. Originality gets a score of 7. Ride Smoothness. Being 9 years old, Skyrocket is still butter smooth. I have no complaints in this department. In fact, I would say that Skyrocket is the smoothest coaster in the park. All of the transitions are handled very well. There's no rattle and no head banging since, well, it only has lap bars. Skyrocket gets a 10 for smoothness. Alright, the final score comes to 7.2, which is a good score. Skyrocket isn't going to be blasting off anyone's socks, but it's going to deliver a solid thrill for most guests. Skyrocket is a great coaster that you would just enjoy to marathon. When you take into consideration all elements of this attraction, Skyrocket has a lot going for it. This ride was sorely missed over the last year, and I'm glad that it's finally open again. With Steel Curtain in the mix, Kennywood has a solid coaster lineup, one that makes it a strong contender in the regional park market. Just because Skyrocket isn't the fastest, biggest, scariest looking coaster in the park, don't pass it up on your next trip to Kennywood. My personal score for Skyrocket is an 8, which might seem a little high for some. It's possible that I might be favoring this coaster a little more now that it's back open, but I think that Skyrocket is a solid ride. It has a little bit of everything for all to enjoy. It's not overly intense, but it's not boring either. Yes, as I mentioned multiple times, the ending is quite boring, but the rest of the ride makes up for it. All the inversions are great. The first drop and post-block brake drop deliver fun airtime. Now, Skyrocket isn't going to be launching into my top 10 or 20, but it's something that is enjoyable. Kennywood should be proud to have this ride in their lineup, and I look forward to riding this coaster more times throughout the rest of the season. Well, thank you for watching my review. Let me know what you think of Skyrocket in the comments below. As always, please subscribe. Go check out my other reviews. I have reviewed every coaster at Kennywood, minus Little Phantom, but yeah, check it out and stay tuned for more great content coming your way by X Scream Thrills.